Hey everybody, how you doing? It's me, Truth Teacher. I know it's been a really long time since I made a video, but and I have to apologize for it. But I had a lot going on in my family for the past 2 years. My mom had a really serious health crisis, and I was very busy taking care of her and handling her affairs and things of that nature. But my mom has passed away last July. Well, this past July, she passed away on her birthday, and so just had the memorial this past Saturday, and so pulling myself back together and going on with life as she would have wanted me to. So I am making this very long overdue DNA video because I actually had these results from last summer. Both mom and I, we did the DNA test because we were curious to see what our ancestry composition was. So, just a little background. Our family is from Jamaica. My mom and my dad are Jamaican. I'm a first generation American born here, but I did grow up in Jamaica. And I wanted more information about our family background. I know that there's mixture on both sides of my family, my mother and my father's side. And Jamaica, even though we are predominantly African, there is a lot of mixture in the country and a lot of different ethnic groups. So you can never be quite sure exactly what's in your family background under circumstances like that. I do have some information about my father's line. I know that the European ancestry came in relatively recently in the 19th and early 20th century. I know that my African line, my paternal line, is African, and it did come to Jamaica. My great, however many generations back, grandfather did come to Jamaica from a kingdom near Congo when he was 8 years old. It was the Bateki people, and he would have gotten to Jamaica in the late 1780s. So I do know that because it was passed down in the family, the story of how he ended up there. My father also told me that we had some Jewish ancestry, which I never believed, for obvious reasons. And the last full-blooded European ancestor I know on that line is his great grandmother, who came from England as a missionary, and she married into a family of mixed race people. My grandmother's family. Let's see. On my mom's side, on her maternal side, they were people who were multi-generational mixed, who just kept marrying other multi-generational mixed people. My grandma did break the mold when she married my grandfather, who was a very dark-skinned man. From what I hear, not him, but he was born in Jamaica, but his family came from Martinique. But then again, I've heard other relatives say other things, that the family was not really from Martinique, that they were Jamaican. They went to Martinique for business, and then they came back to Jamaica. So I don't know. All I know is that my granddad spoke French. From what my mom remembers. So anything else? I'm expecting, before I took the test, I was expecting to be, of course, to see European ancestry. I was expecting that the African portion would be the majority, so I was estimating that I would be somewhere in the range of like 60 to 70, 75% African, and the rest would be European. Um, I was also expecting to see some Italian ancestry from my mother's side because my mom has a certain type of anemia that is specific to Italians, thalassemia anemia. And it was confirmed when she took blood tests. They didn't want to give it to her because they figured, since she's dark skinned, they just saw her as a black woman, and they figured, well, she's black, she wouldn't possibly have the Italian strain of anemia. But there was a doctor there who was familiar with people from the Caribbean, and he said, no, test her for it because people from the Caribbean, it's very common to have Mediterranean and Italian ancestry. And sure enough, she tested positive. So I did the test. Both myself and my mom, we took the test. My dad had taken the test before me. So between the two of them, I got a broader picture of what my ancestry actually is. And I would recommend that everyone do that. If you could get your relatives, your father and your mother, to take it, that would give you a clearer picture because there were some markers that I didn't inherit that my mother and my father had. So even though I didn't get those markers, obviously it's still, those ethnicities are still part of my ancestry. So without further ado, I'm going to go to the results and I'm going to do screenshots so you can see exactly what is in my background. So here we are on the 23andMe website, and I'm starting down here. This is showing my Neanderthal ancestry. So I have 81 genetic variants inherited from Neanderthals. So yes, I am part cave beast, and I am proud of my cave beast ancestors because without any of them, I wouldn't be here today. So moving right along, we have my maternal haplogroup, and it's saying here that this haplogroup is shared with Nelson Mandela. So it's not saying that me and Nelson Mandela are relatives. It's saying that we belong to the same haplogroup, maternal haplogroup. So if we go in here, it shows. So this shows the maternal migration of this haplogroup L 180,000 years ago. And as you scroll down, it shows you the path it took. You got this nice map here. So this is where it started out. And they migrated down here 47,000 years ago. And then, let's see, 17,000 years ago up to the present. That's where we ended up. So Nelson Mandela also belongs to the same haplogroup, and it gives you a little bit of information about him there, and I think that's really cool. Okay, next, moving on, is my paternal haplogroup, and as you know, that's the DNA that you receive from your father's line, your father, going all the way back. So it's saying here that I share a common ancestor with Ramses III. And before all the hoteps start jumping on me, no, this is not saying that Egyptians migrated to West Africa. All this is saying is that we share a common ancestor. And when you go on the next page, it will show you in greater detail. So in this on this page, they show you the migration of your paternal haplogroup, and if you look at the map here, you can see where the line started. All human beings, we started out with this haplogroup A, 275,000 years ago. And then it branched off, moving north to DEM 145, 76,000 years ago. And this is the point where we share a common ancestor, or I share a common ancestor with Ramsey, because part of this line moved up into the Nile Valley in North Africa, and the other branch of this family went into West Africa, and then down into Central and Southern Africa. So EM96 is the common ancestor that we share with the Egyptians. But the branch of that family that went into West Africa was M180. So one branch went into the Nile Valley, that was M96. The other branch went into West Africa, that was M180. And the child of that branch is my paternal line, EM 4254, which goes back 12,000 years ago to the present. And if you go down here, it goes into some information about Ramses III, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes down here and it describes, it gives you more detail about what your Y chromosome, your paternal haplogroup is, if you don't know that. So that's pretty cool. I really like this. Shows that map. I really like that. My paternal line. And so this makes sense because my paternal ancestor is from that region in the Congo. So you can see that M4254, it branched off of M180 down into Central Africa. Okay, so here's the part that everyone wants to see. And this is the overview. And right away, it's showing me that I have 13.4% British and Irish ancestry. I have ancestry from one region in the Caribbean. Gee, I wonder where that could be. And 45.1% of my ancestry is Nigerian. So let's click the button and let's go to that webpage and we'll get more details there. Alright, so here we go, showing you my ethnicity report, my first two regions. So first off the bat, as I speculated, sub-Saharan Africa, and I am in the range that I estimated. 75.6%. I figure we just round that up. 76% is West African, and my top percentage, well, 69.3% of my ancestry is West African specific. Where else would it be? So, of that 69%, my largest region is Nigeria, which I'm very, very happy about because it confirms what I felt and what I was hoping, that the land of my spiritual tradition is also my ancestral homeland, and that is very, very cool. I'm very happy. I would have been really upset if it came back and told me I didn't have any Nigerian ancestry at all. I would have been really upset. I'd have been hurt. But moving right along, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, Siba, we're relatives. That's really, really cool. Yes, I'm not surprised that. Actually, I'm surprised that the Nigerian was the largest percent, because Jamaica, we have very strong Ghanaian roots, like the Akan, the Ashanti people. But I suppose it depends on the time periods, at different time periods, different ethnic groups came to the island. So, yeah, that's interesting. Senegambia, yes, I really wanted to have some of that because that's this area of Africa over here, and that's where that was part of the great West African empires, Ghana, Mali, Songhai. They were all part of that matrix. And so I feel very happy to know that I can count them as my direct ancestors, just as I suspected. And beautiful things about their culture that I love. I love kora music, that stringed harp that they play. I love takamba music from, well, that's more Mali, but fuck it, I'm claiming it anyway. I love all of that. That's part of my ancestry as well. And let's see. 5.2 is broadly West African, and then next we have Congolese and Southeast African at 5.5%, and of that, 5.2% is Angolan and Congolese. That's my great, 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 great granddaddy. Broadly Congolese and East African, 0.3%. Now, this one I really was not expecting at all. I wasn't expecting anything from East Africa at all. I'm 0.1% Sudanese, and I've run this through other calculators, and yeah, I'm showing some kind of East African ancestry. The only thing that I can think about is that this must be coming in from my Muslim West African ancestors because they did travel out that way because they had to go through Sudan to get to Mecca, if they were going on pilgrimage, in the Hajj. Also, there were trade routes connecting East and West Africa, so it could have come in that way, Broadly, Sub Saharan Africa at 8.8%. My next biggest region, of course, is Europe at 23.6%. We can just go ahead and round that up to 24%. So we can say that I'm approximately a quarter European. And let's go in here now and see, let's see, Northwestern Europe. Of course, I was expecting that, 21.2%. And of that, 13.4% is specific to British and Irish, which I am not surprised. What's really cool is when you click on this, it gives you a map of England and Scotland and Ireland, and it shows exactly where in the country, the regions in the country where your ancestors came from, man. I just wish they had enough samples from West Africa so they could have, like pinpointed those areas as well. I'm not going to go into it, but that's really cool that you can do that. French and German, that is not a surprise, 0.5%. Broadly Western Northern European, again, not a surprise, 7.2%. Southern Europe, again, not a surprise. I was expecting that. 1.0%. Just didn't know what the percentage would be, but I was expecting that because of, my mom's, what I told you about my mom's medical condition. Spanish and Portuguese, 0.1%. I really wasn't expecting any of that at all, but, it shouldn't come as a surprise because the Spanish did own Jamaica before the British took it away from them. So I guess that's a very, very distant ancestor. Um, Broadly Southern European. Here we go, and this is where mom gets that thalassemia anemia from. She gets it from the Mediterranean. So this now was a big Surprise. I guess Dad was telling the truth. We are of Jewish descent. Um, Only way we know that is because my grandfather had a personal Torah that had been passed down for generations in the family, according to Dad, what he said. But my granddad gave it away. My granddad was a pastor. He was a minister and a teacher. I think he was Anglican. I'm not sure. Dad, you can correct me on that. But anyway, he gave that to as a gift to a visiting clerical dignitary who visited Jamaica, which was stupid. You don't do that, man. Come on, those are family heirlooms. You hold on to that and you pass it on to your kids. You don't give it away. But anyway, that's how we knew that we had Jewish ancestry, and or at least Dad did. I didn't believe him when he told me, but the DNA is backing it up. And looking at my relative matches on Dad's side, most of them have that Ashkenazi Jewish DNA in higher percentages. So sometimes the stories they tell you do turn out to be true. Broadly European at 1.3%. And now moving on is where we have our trace ancestry. So let's open this up. Let's open this up. Thank you. All right, so I am showing Southeast Asian ancestry, which I was not expecting. Um, Jamaica does have a lot of Chinese. Um, Broadly South Asian, I was not expecting that either. We do have a lot of East Indians. East Indians make up after Africans and the mixed African and European. East Indians do make up the largest ethnic group, followed by Chinese. But I wasn't expecting any of that in my background. Now, interesting thing here is it's not showing any Taino ancestry. But I do know that I do have Taino ancestry because my mom and my dad both have the markers for it. Very small percentages, which means it's probably like maybe one ancestor way back in time. But if they have the marker, even though I didn't inherit it, that's still my ancestry. Without that person, I wouldn't exist. So once again, percentage really doesn't matter because 0.1% carries just as much weight as 45%. Without that one individual, you would not be alive. So I guess Jamaica, yeah, you find out new things all the time. I guess we didn't just get Chinese immigrants, but in Jamaica, and if you have East Asian features, you're just Chinese. Like they put everybody in one basket. But the South Asian, I don't know. That's a mystery. But yeah, it is what it is. That's part of my ancestry. And then we've got 0.1% unassigned, and that is my, I guess, that is my ancestry from Budaslavia. So I'm going to end the video here because I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to make a second video because there's a lot of other cool features in here that I'd like to share with you guys. But I'll get back to you on that on the second video. So I'm going to end it here and say bye-bye.